So I'm interested to talk to our next guest because now I'm a Gen Xer. There are now millennials. This is National Women's History Month, and we are now approaching Generation Z. So, Dr. Tracy Wilen, good morning.
Oh, good morning, Brooke. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to talk to you, and I love how everybody's named. Did they? Well, no, they had the baby boomers. I feel like Gen X was one of the first generations that were named, but that's not really true, is it?
You know, and the projections are that it's going to evolve, that generations like to have names. So some people call Z the I generation. It's trying to settle on, or Homeland generation is trying to settle on, and then they just default to XYZ, but now we're running out of letters.
Right, I was just saying to somebody, I'm like, well, what are they going to come up with next? Are they going to have to go back to A?
Right. So I have a feeling moving forward we're going to see a lot more cute names or headlines.
Right. So, okay, who is Generation Z?
So Generation Z is the tail, some call it the tail end of the millennials. It's an individual is born maybe 1995 or later, so that gives them around the age range from 9 years old to 20 years old. And that's a big range because some are in middle school, some are in high school, some are in college, some are even working. So it's a broad range, and it's about 20 to 24% of the population right now.
Okay. Now, what are you interested in looking at Generation Z women for Women's History Month?
Well, I'm interested in them because I think each generation of women have added, unique contributions to society, to work and careers, and have paved the path for other women. So every year I look at something historical. This year I decided to look at something more future-oriented about the women who are going to make herstory instead of history. And so that's my interest in Generation Z.
Now, what do you think defines Gen Z and makes them different from a millennial or a Gen Xer or any other generation?
Sure. So if we put the dates aside, the birth dates aside, generations are usually defined by commonalities of experiences that they've grown up with and lived through. And this generation has grown up with mixed families. They're very much multicultural, by the way. Over 50% have hybrid backgrounds.
Okay.
But they've grown up with terrorism, cyber attacks, cyclical recession, very different environment than their older millennial siblings.
Well, yeah, and I mean, now I'm feeling real old as a Gen Xer because, the stuff you just mentioned is real scary stuff. I have a 12-year-old, and he, unfortunately, doesn't know a life before a lot of those horrible things that you just mentioned.
That's right. And so their kind of perceptions and experiences will shape the way that they view whether it's going to college or going to work or how they're going to develop their own personal careers. And I think that's kind of interesting to me as someone who watches the workforce.
Well, that's what was going to be my next question. What do you think what do you think we can expect from Gen Z work-wise?
Well, first off, I think they're going to be much more self-directed because they're so concerned about the future and have watched their parents, Gen X and baby boomers, go in and out of jobs. They've seen their older siblings, the millennials, get college degrees and not get jobs, and seen people move home. They're much more purposeful about and pragmatic about their own personal careers, and they're very entrepreneurial, and a lot of them have already stated that they want to be entrepreneurs. Maybe that's spurred on by Shark Tank or by watching, Facebook and Google and Twitter, but many of them are, want to be entrepreneurs.
Well, and also seeing, generations before them working for these big corporations and not having their own, control over their own destiny sometimes it's a security thing too, don't you think?
Yes, and let's face it, this generation is going to be living much longer.
Right.
At least to 100. So they're going to be working 50 to 70 years. They're probably going to outlive a lot of these corporations. And so they really have to plan now for multiple careers, multiple jobs, and really set their own strategy of what they want their life to look like, as you said.
Right. Now, here, I want to ask you this. How do you think that the Gen Z women may differ from Gen Z men? Or do you think there is a big difference there?
Well, gender roles don't even come up when you talk to this generation, so they don't see men and women the same way as previous generations do. But the best analogy I give is that I think a lot of people watch the show Modern Family. Yeah. So our Gen Z girl is Alex, and she's very studious, she's very technical, she's very focused and career-oriented. her younger brother Luke is also Gen Z, and he's technical, but he's quite different than Alex. But he's also quite different than Manny, who's also another Gen Z.
Right. You're right. It's a really good analogy, though.
Yeah, and then they're totally different than, of course, the millennial older sister, which is Haley, who has different concerns and is unfortunately had to move back home, brought her boyfriend back home, can't seem to keep a job or stay in school.
Now,
so, it's a very different group that we're looking at.
Okay, now see, when you put it in the modern family perspective, and I have to say this, and I don't want to get smacked upside the head by a millennial, but as a Gen Xer, I see millennials as being these just completely self-focused, self-centered people. Is that wrong of me?
Well, again, we're talking about a very large population.
Yeah, I know, and it's hard to generalize like that, but I just threw that out there.
Yeah, well, a lot have said that their parents have coddled them a lot more, and that Gen Z is now less coddled than the millennial generation, and it might have just been a rebound of their parents not wanting them to have the same struggles in life that they did.
Makes sense.
And so, but we have to be, as you said, there are millennials who are doing profound things. I mean, just look at people who created Uber and Facebook.
Right.
And then you have other millennials who are completely self-absorbed with taking selfies. And so I can understand that, yes. And you have to remember, social media kind of came on the scene with the millennials.
Yeah.
So this incredible fascination with collecting likes and
I know.
photos.
It drives me crazy. But yes, you're right. Oh, my gosh.
Yes,
I could talk about this with you about this for hours, and unfortunately we're out of time. But I really quickly now, you have a blog. Can you throw out your blog for people who might want to get more info on this?
Oh, sure. So the blog is called Here Comes Z Women, and it's posted actually on my LinkedIn account, and also on my website, which is TracyWilen.com, TracyWilen, and I'm on Facebook and Twitter as well.
Oh, gosh, Tracy, I could talk to you for another hour, but we're out of time. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us this morning.
Oh, well, thank you. I really appreciate it.